Mike, we love this dude. And he is a friend of the show. Brad Nessler joining us on the waitforward.com hotline. Ness, it's good to have you back on. Mike and I were just talking about, last year of SEC on CBS. I want to start there.
No.
Because, it's going to be weird. We know things change around college football, but I don't like my broadcast to change. Ness?
Yeah, hi, guys. Good to be with you. Yeah, it's going to be a little weird the first 2 weeks of the season for me to be in the Big Ten before I get back to the SEC for Georgia and South Carolina that third week. But, I started this thing up there a long time ago, so Big Ten is not new to me. I guess it's just going to be a little bit different. But, yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the last season of the SEC. You could have mixed feelings about it and say, oh, gee, and feel bad for yourself. I'm just going to dig every weekend and have fun at every stadium and see friends around the conference that I've made over God knows how many years. It's not just the CBS time there. I did a lot of SEC games with Todd Blackledge in football, and I did 2 or 3 basketball games a week with Jimmy Dykes and Sean Farnham and those guys. So I've been in the SEC a long time, so it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, man, I know that, as Carl said, it's a changing time. You get to do some Ohio State, I guess, Indiana. You get a bunch of those games. And, look, we're maybe heading to that mega conference. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years. Just get the feeling that, the way things are going, Brad, it's just maybe that's where we need to be anyway. Just have the top 50 or 75 big boys, let them have at it.
Yeah, Mike, all of us, the three of us have been talking about this, it seems like for 10 years or more, that we thought it was going to end up being 320-team conference, super conferences or whatever. It's edging that way. I think the only way they're going to be able to make more money other than super conferences is if they start kicking people out of conferences that maybe aren't as good as the other teams, you know what I mean? Right. As far as the revenue, it's got to top out at some time. And, we know it's all about money. It's not about rivalries anymore. It's not about history of college football and traditions. All that stuff flew out the window a few years ago, I think. So I think we're going to end up with, like you said, top 60, 65 teams, something like that at some point. I think I'll be out of the mix by then, but you guys might still be talking about it.
It is our buddy Brad Nessler here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. I want to ask you about the Dogs because – Ness, we've said this over the last few years, now they are atop of the mountain, and we kind of take for granted. It's like expected, right? We're talking about the Dogs potentially three-peating, and I just think that is extremely hard to do. It's not that they can't, but now you're in uncharted territory with all the great teams in college football that have had an opportunity to come back like this and maybe chase this. What are your thoughts on the Dogs as they, again, are picked to win the SEC?
Yeah, Carl, you're exactly right. I mean, it's been close before. The Nebraska teams in, the 90s, Miami teams that were really bad team of 10 years ago, whenever it was, when you get to that back-to-back thing, and then you try to make it 3 in a row. And, I grew up a Gopher fan, but I was not around for the 1936 Bernie I just want all your listeners to know I wasn't there for that year, but I'm pretty sure they only played about 8 games and probably won 7 of them, something like that. This is uncharted is a great way to put it. Kirby's put a thing together that is sustainable. I just don't know if you can keep running off 14-1 and 15 in those seasons. There's just too many. There's too many obstacles along the way. Do I think there's obstacles for them this year? Not really. I think we get into November and they head to Knoxville. That might be an obstacle. I don't know. It wasn't last year in Athens, but if you look at their schedule, it sure plays up for them to be right in the thick of it again. And I think they're capable for sure.
It is our man, Brad Nessler. You recognize the Pipes, one of the most recognizable voices in sports. Yeah, man, this year, I mean, you look at the East, Florida's still got Napier's doing better with recruiting, finding his way. The one thing we looked at, Brad, unless these guys take a big leap skill set-wise, is South Carolina, Tennessee. They maybe can score some points, but their defenses are just not that good.
Yeah, that's their biggest problem. And South Carolina came a long way last year, and they beat people that nobody thought they should have beaten. Tennessee was excellent, and then lost at the end to some teams they shouldn't have, but Hendon Hooker was hurt. Kentucky was Kentucky like they always are, and they didn't show up at the end of the year. So you look down the list, and there's holes on, both sides of the ball in a lot of cases, not on the defense of Georgia, I don't think, even though I don't know how you lose that many guys that are number one picks over a 2-year span on defense and expect you're going to be as good. But the guys that were playing behind him were just as hungry, and the names we didn't know a year ago or maybe just sort of recognized, they'll be the next number one picks, in years to come.
We keep wondering, and I don't know, Ness, if you've asked Coach Saban this about, when he thinks about calling it quits. Mike and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. He just bought a house down in Florida.
Right.
A nice house.
Like a $15, $16 million.
16 million, yeah.
House.
And Ness, we're sitting here thinking, okay, you only buy a house like that if you're thinking about retirement, right? But Coach Saban's not going to say that. I mean, how much longer do you think he does this?
Well, I don't know where he bought the new house, but he already had one down there because he was complaining about the last hurricane. And Miss Terry, I think, flew down in the private Alabama jet and took a whole crew of workers with her just to work on the last one. So He probably just upgraded, or maybe downsized. He might have downsized. I don't know, but I think he's going to go till he's 75 at least. I don't see any. It's what he loves to do. He's healthy. Since he's had his hips and knees and everything fixed, he's spry and he doesn't look like he's 71 or whatever he is. I know he's older than me. I love that part. I'd just keep going if I was him, unless, you hit a few 9-win seasons. But then knowing Nick, he would just want to come back and say, this is BS, man. We're going to win 15 the following year. So I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, it's Brad. We talk about sometimes you feel, can you continue that conveyor belt of good assistant coaches? And I think some Bama fans are kind of like lukewarm to some of the dudes he brought in. Speaking of bringing in somebody, how about the Dark Lord Bobby Petrino returning to football with Jimbo Fisher? Man, it's been a huge disappointment for Jimbo in College Station. So, what do you think about that offense getting back on track?
I just can't wait till the first A&M game I do because I get to talk to both of them, and Jimbo talks so fast, and I'm not sure what he's talking about. And Bobby is so ornery and different that it's just going to be a wonderful day for me. But I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think anybody sees that as a working formula with two egos that are that big and two offensive minds that are supposed to be that brilliant. I don't know. It's the other bad part is. The other bad part is if they go 5-7 or something like that, and they decide to buy Jimbo out, then they got Bobby to just step in that office, So I don't.
Right.
I thought all these scenarios through, and I have no idea how that's going to work. But I can't wait to see it up close.
Brad Nessler, our guest, guys, talking some college football with Ness. In the top 5 AP coaches poll, it's Georgia, Michigan, 1-2. Ohio State's in there. Obviously, Alabama, LSU round out the top 5 in both polls. And I'm just curious, you said you started way back when in the Big Ten. Everybody thinks that this is what it may look like at the end of the season, with Michigan and Ohio State being as good as a lot of people think Georgia and maybe Alabama or LSU will be by the end of the season. The Big Ten, do they get enough respect, Ness, as far as how good they have been or what they're going to look like here in the next couple of years?
If they wouldn't have, stumbled in the playoffs last year, Carl, I think they would already be getting that respect. Ohio State had Georgia beat and let them off the hook. Michigan didn't show up in their playoff game, and at least not the way they thought they were going to. They're starting to recruit like Kirby, and it's it's a big question mark, I think, as far as Ohio State is going to be Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. They're going to have the greatest wide receiver group in the league or in college football, I think. But they got to get somebody to get it to them. McCarthy at Michigan is a set entity. The other teams in the top 5, Jaden Daniels is set at LSU, but then it's Georgia and Alabama. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be Carson Beck, right? But we don't know if it's going to be Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, Tyler Buckner. So there's question marks in the top 5. They're really good teams, but they don't have a Stetson Bennett.
That's just it. Yeah, and that's the thing, Brad. I mean, you could argue the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks are in the Pac-12, between Penix and what USC, everything else. But, yeah, that's why this year is going to be interesting to see if, and by the way, if Beck does stumble, I guess, do they go? Because the history here is, you can be injured and lose the job at quarterback at Georgia. I mean, everybody's kind of penciled in under Kirby.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And it's not that I don't think a lot of the other 2 kids, I've only seen them practice. I haven't seen them really in any game situations at all. But you don't come in as 5-star guys every year. It's 5-star this, 5-star that, 5-star this, 5-star that. Well, you get sort of forgotten when you're all of a sudden in your third or fourth year, and
Right.
you go, hey, man, I was player of the year in Florida, or hey, man, I was player of the year in Georgia. And then, you got another one waiting over in Buford. And so
Right.
somebody's going to go at some point. And, I give those guys credit that they've all stuck with it and hung in there and not transferred out already. But, if any of them are half as good as the kid they had the last 2.5 years, Georgia fans will take it.
Ness, you do anything fun or interesting this offseason, man?
Not really. Kind of boring. I was just thinking, I was like, wow, we didn't do anything that spectacular. We had a couple weddings to go to and went to the Florida Keys for a few days,
Oh, nice.
but nothing big, no big trips.
Right.
And I was just thinking, this is probably the last day that I got to sit by the pool and I was not reading something that was football related.
Wow.
I was just reading out by the pool. And now from now on, it'll be all homework.
Yeah.
From here on out.
No, I never knew to think of calling Ness as like a dog sitter this summer, Carl, when we're thinking of taking a vacation.
Yeah, that's me, man. Pretty boring.
Ness,
Hey, man.
thank you. We are watching. We love your stuff, man, and have fun in this last. As you said, just enjoy it. We are going to enjoy watching you and continued success, man. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks, buddy. And I'll talk to you guys soon. And go Falcons tonight. I'll be watching and listening.
Yes,
Right
sir.
on, man. Former TV, you just see him doing radio and TV for the Falcons back in the day when he was cutting his teeth. By the way, I'm not sure. I don't want to put Brad on the spot, but I wonder if CBS is going to have some cool vignettes, old school memories looking back at their coverage of the SEC.
gotta have
from
it.
Nessler to like Vern Lundquist and everything else going back.
They've got to, Mike. I mean, it's been ingrained in us.
Right.
And change happens, but yeah, I'm thinking these Saturdays are going to be a lot of fun.